Well, good morning. My name is Evan Jenkins. I have the honor of serving as the Chief Justice of the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals. Today's a really important day. This year, the Supreme Court has done a couple of things above and beyond what we normally do in the functioning of the judiciary. One, the court went to every county in West Virginia. We did that for the purpose of saying thank you. You know, there are 1,500 employees who work for the judicial branch in West Virginia, every county and every courthouse, to carry out the important functions and duties of administering justice and fulfilling that constitutional obligation that the courts shall always be open. So we wanted to say thank you to all of our judicial employees, as I say, 1,500 who care deeply about the work they do. The second thing we did as a court is we put into place a civility pledge. I just talked about the people who work for the judiciary. The civility pledge was for the attorneys. And for the first time in West Virginia's history, the court adopted an addition to the oath of to be admitted to the practice of law in West Virginia. We want to make sure that those not only who go to work at the courthouses, but those who go to court as a professional, as an attorney, conduct themselves in a very civil manner. So that's two important things that we've done this year with the guides towards lifting the judiciary and the important work in a civil society. Well, today is a third leg of that stool, and in my opinion, maybe the most important, and that is the citizens of West Virginia who respond to the call to duty to serve on juries. We all know our country is unique. We know our democracy is frail, and that all of us together have an important role to make sure that we do our part. And citizens serving as jurors, deciding guilt or innocence, or deciding right and wrong, or deciding between two parties what the appropriate just decision and holding would be. This is really important. As a citizen, you really have two things you can do to engage in a civil society. One, you can vote. That's how your voice is heard. And the second thing you can do is serve on a jury. To take time out of your lives, to go to court and respond to that invitation that says you have been called to jury service. It is so fundamental to who we are as a society, as a democracy, and we think as a court that it is really important that we take time not only to say thank you to our employees, not only to challenge lawyers to act civilly, but to say thank you to those men and women throughout the state who respond to the call to serve on a jury. It's really important work. And that's why today the court is proclaiming November as Juror Appreciation Month. We are releasing, and have already this morning, a really important video that will be a tool to help build public's understanding and awareness of what jury duty service is all about and what happens in a trial. And then we have a manual that circuit judges, magistrates, and others, the circuit clerks, can use as an education tool. And this has been updated. We have had it for years, but it is the kind of the new updated version. I am honored to be joined by my colleagues here at the Supreme Court, along with Cathy, Gatson, the circuit clerk of Kanawha County, and Judge Anita Ashley. Each of us will make a few remarks about this and certainly then be available to answer questions. So let me first call on Justice John Hutchison to share some thoughts and perspectives about appreciating our juries.
Thanks, Chief. I've had two great honors in my career. The first was to serve as a circuit judge, where I daily came in contact, or nearly daily came in contact with jurors. And then the second, obviously, is to serve as a member of the Supreme Court. You know, civics is not emphasized a whole lot anymore in our schools, but I always tell kids whenever I have the opportunity to speak to classes and that sort of stuff, recognizing there are three branches of government, the judiciary is the only branch of government that requires our citizens to participate so that we can do our job. If they don't participate, then we don't have the ability to resolve criminal issues. We don't have the ability to resolve conflicts between our citizens. And the jury system is the linchpin of our type of government, because the citizens decide disputes, not judges or other elected officials. It's the citizens who do it. So this is fantastic, and the chief stole my line. I would always tell my jurors during jury orientation, you have two obligations. It's not something that I think it's it's something you can choose or not choose to do. I think you have two obligations, and the first one obviously is to vote. Don't care how you vote, but vote. If you don't have a right to complain about the results of an election. And the second one is obviously to serve as a juror. And again, we cannot perform our constitutional functions without participation from the citizens. So it's only just, in my mind, that we thank those people who get paid a nominal amount, have to buy their own lunch, that sort of stuff, pay for their own parking, to come in and resolve issues between either an individual in the state or individuals having a conflict between two individuals. So thank you, jurors, and thank all of those who will participate in the future, but really thank everybody who has participated in the past. It is an absolutely critical element for what we do every day. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Justice Hutchison. Next up, we have Judge Anita Ashley. Judge Ashley has served for a number of years as a circuit judge. She is where the rubber meets the road. Can only imagine how many jury trials you've conducted. I welcome your remarks on the important work you do working with jurors each and every day. Judge Anita Ashley.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I'm Anita Harold Ashley, Circuit Judge of the 5th Judicial Circuit, which is Roane, Calhoun, Jackson, and Mason counties. And I'm proud today to represent the other circuit judges in West Virginia in recognizing and extending appreciation to jurors. I'm also proud to have been involved in working with a team of judges and Jennifer Bundy to develop the new juror video and the handbook, which is released today. I'm now in my 5th year as a circuit judge, followed 35 years as a lawyer in a small town. So I've had lots of experience with juries. In fact, jury selection yesterday, and if my math is correct, I've now started trial number 40 in my tenure as judge. But I must say those trials have all been memorable. The most memorable trial, however, was not one of the 40 where I presided as judge or the countless many that I participated in as a lawyer, but instead, it was the first jury trial I ever witnessed, and it was way back in my law school days, the old days before DNA, and it occurred in the courtroom of Calhoun County where I now preside. It was a paternity trial. where the defendant was charged with being the father of a child, and the jury was called upon after hearing testimony to make that factual determination. It was a case without any medical or expert evidence. It involved a mother and the defendant testifying, and then having to stand up side by side with her holding a little boy between them, and the jurors getting to view the resemblance to determine if the defendant was, in fact, the father of this little boy. Interestingly, the defendant was acquitted. I learned a lot that day, especially the importance of a jury. The right to a jury trial is like so many other American rights. It comes with responsibility. We all hope we never need a jury of our peers, but somebody needs one every single day. We owe our fellow Americans to answer that call. Being on a jury is a rewarding experience, and in some cases may be quite demanding. You may be asked to listen to testimony, examine facts and evidence, which may be unpleasant or unsettling. It takes a lot of courage to serve on a jury. Some cases are very violent or unsettling or brutal. Too many folks get that letter in the mail, the summons, and the first thing they think of is, how can I get excused? However, jury service is a vital aspect of our government. Trial by jury, of course, is a fundamental right that could not exist if our citizens were not willing to serve as jurors. And while I don't possess any scientific data to support my conclusion, I will say that I've had countless jurors tell me after they've completed their service what a good experience it was to be a juror and how interesting they found the process to be. So on behalf of all of West Virginia's judges, I extend our gratitude to those who have served this important role. As jurors, they've served their local community by ensuring access to justice for everyone. They have fundamentally contributed to our American system of law and order, and hopefully they've discovered how empowering jury service can be and how treasured the connections they make in the courtroom with others during their service. But most importantly, they've affected an individual's life by weighing the evidence, taking part in a trial, and rendering a verdict. So to all the people who have served as jurors, I say thank you.
Thank you, Judge Ashley, for kind of putting a face on the reality and what an individual experiences when they are called. Absolutely critical to that original call is the work that our circuit clerks do throughout West Virginia. These are dedicated people who work so closely with the judges there at the courthouse in their communities and play a critically important function in this process of being called for jury service, and we want to recognize and express appreciation for the work that our circuit clerks do. We have long-serving circuit clerk here in Kanawha County, Cathy Gatson. Welcome, thank you, and we welcome your remarks.
Thank you, Justice. Thank you, and good morning. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of the West Virginia Association of Circuit Clerks. First, I'd like to start by thanking the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals for their important efforts in revising and updating the Welcome to Jury Service video and the Trial Jurors Handbook, which together provide the cornerstones of juror education in the state. The video and handbook are invaluable instructional tools for citizens who are asked to perform one of our most important and fundamental civic duties. The video is intended to give jurors a summary of what they might expect while serving as a juror in a trial. You know, our previous jury video featuring actor Raymond Burr was produced almost 30 years ago in September of 1992, and it ran 19 minutes, almost 20 minutes in length. Although the Raymond Burr video served us well over the years, the new video presents a more streamlined, modern introduction to jury service and is much more convenient to view at only 10 minutes. The Trial Juror Handbook complements the information in the video by providing a written reference to jury duty, a written reference guide to jury duty with helpful do's and don'ts and explanation of terminology. The additions and reformatting of certain sections are appropriate. and will be beneficial to future jurors. These informational tools, the jury video and the handbook, are of tremendous assistance not only to jurors, but to circuit clerks and our court system, as well as we shepherd jurors through a period of jury service. As you may know, circuit clerks serve as the jury administrator for the court, and they are responsible for the management of the pettit and grand jury systems in the county. Under the direction of the court and pursuant to applicable laws, the clerk creates the list of prospective jurors, randomly selects panels for juror attendance, qualifies and summonses jurors, participates in jury orientation, monitors attendance and mileage for reimbursement purposes, and provides jury panels for both the magistrate court and municipal courts. Our work with the jury is one of the most rewarding types of work with which we are engaged. This updated information, the jury video and the handbook, which will be available on the court's website, will be particularly useful as circuit clerks continue to perform their jury management functions and jurors continue to respond to the call for jury duty amid the rapidly changing COVID landscape. In pre-COVID years, it was common in Kanawha County Circuit Court for approximately 6,000 to 8,500 jurors to be summoned in a year, and for the court to conduct approximately 25 or more jury trials. Last year in 2020, during the pandemic, a little over 3,000 jurors were summoned and 7 jury trials were conducted. So far this year, almost 4,000 jurors have been summoned and 11 jury trials have been conducted. So we commend our jurors for their service and responsiveness during the ongoing pandemic. To that end, the Supreme Court's designation of November as Juror Appreciation Month and the recognition of jurors' important contributions to the justice system is timely, appropriate, and well-deserved. So on behalf of circuit clerks, I would like to add my thanks to those many citizens who devote their time and effort to our system of justice. In closing, and as a member of the Circuit Clerks Liaison Committee, the committee and I are grateful to have had the opportunity to provide input into this critical project, which affords jurors the necessary presentation of essential information. And we extend our sincere appreciation and thanks to the Supreme Court in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cathy. I mentioned that I was joined by my colleagues, and we actually have everybody. Justice Beth Walker, because of a long commitment, was not able to physically be here. She is watching online. She is wholly supportive and has been an integral part of us designating this month and putting these important tools together. So we're sorry she can't be with us physically, but she is here and we appreciate her support. Let me turn now to our additional 2 justices. First, to Justice Tim Armstead.
Thank you, Chief, and it is a pleasure for me to be a part of this recognition of our jurors. We've talked a lot this morning about the importance of the jury process, and you look back in the history of our country when our Constitution was written, that this was ingrained in our Constitution and then even reinforced through the Bill of Rights, through the 6th and 7th Amendments, to extend not only to criminal trials but to civil trials, so that those who had matters that, whether that matter involved their very liberty or it involved a civil case, that those individuals who come into courtrooms like this throughout the state and into to circuit courts throughout our state, they know that their case will be decided by people in their neighborhood, in their community, and that is incredibly important. And so I think when we talk about, and Judge Ashley talked a little bit about when a person gets that notice and they think, well, what's this going to do to my schedule? Obviously, it is an inconvenience because they are taking time from their job, from their family obligations, and it is often difficult for them to be able to take that time. But once they get into that courtroom, I think they all realize the gravity of what they're doing. And as Judge Ashley has said, I think in the ones that I've talked with, they appreciate that opportunity. They're honored to have been a part of this process. And they take that role very seriously and that obligation very seriously because they know that they are deciding very important issues for those litigants in that courtroom. So we appreciate their dedication, the fact that they do make the accommodation that they have to make in their personal life to be able to do that work, but also the seriousness that they give it, that they take very seriously the obligation that they have. But the last thing I would say is that last year and into this year, we certainly have had a very challenging time period for our state, our nation, our world, and for our court system. And the thing that has really impressed me about jurors is, we were concerned. I think all of us were concerned, and circuit judges throughout the state were concerned about being able to get jurors to be comfortable to come into that courtroom during the pandemic. And obviously we have jurors who have legitimate reasons that from health perspective that they can't do so. But I've been really impressed that jurors, by and large throughout our state, the experience that I've heard from our circuit judges is they took their job seriously and they showed up. And we appreciate that. They obviously expected, rightfully, that precautions were to be taken to protect their health, and they were. But they also did their job. They showed up and stepped up to the plate, as so many did throughout this pandemic. And they realized that that obligation doesn't go away simply because of what we were dealing with, that there is still a need to have jurors report and decide these cases throughout the communities of our state. So they took that obligation seriously. They showed up, and we appreciate that now, perhaps in the last couple of years more than ever, that they were willing to do that. And so I express my heartfelt thanks, as does our court and our courts throughout the state, for that willingness to be a part of this very important process. So we thank our jurors. We're glad that we're getting some additional updated resources. I didn't realize how old our old resources might have been. Glad we're having some new resources that apparently are in this century. So, we're pleased to be able to again take this opportunity to say thanks.
Thank you, Justice Armstead. Now let me call on Justice Bill Wooton. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. When you're last, everyone's already said what you wanted to say. Every citizen living in a democracy has some duty. That is some share of our collective responsibility to ensure that our experiment in self-governing continues to function. That it has succeeded for almost 250 years is a tribute to our forefathers. That it will continue to succeed is our challenge. Among the duties facing every citizen is the duty to pay taxes or to vote. I understand that no one likes to pay taxes, but duties like taxes fall on each of us and are not a major inconvenience to any one of us. Other duties are not so universal. All of us join in thanking that small number of our countrymen who carry the burden of our national defense. And we are here today to pay tribute to another select group of our citizens who are called upon to perform a duty for our system of government, a duty owed by everyone, but everyone is not called to perform. We are here today to honor those among us who are randomly selected to serve as jurors. Independent, impartial, apolitical. Our judicial system is the envy of the world. It is the bedrock of our democracy. And we would have no judicial system without those citizens who, when called, serve as jurors. These randomly selected citizens perform a constitutional duty fundamental to the preservation of our democracy. We cannot overstate the importance of their duty. It's my pleasure to join with my fellow judges and Clerk Gatson in honoring those citizens who serve as jurors, that is, those individuals who serve as judges of the evidence in every trial in this state. Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Justice Wooton. Thank you all who are here in person, those who are here virtually. These are tools that are now available. Again, the jury duty handbook is on our website, courtswv.gov. We also have the updated 10-minute video that's relevant, that's been shortened and is more user-friendly and more indicative of the reality today of jury service. That also can be viewed on our website. Thank you to all of our wonderful judiciary staff, our communications team, who were real leaders in putting this together. Thank each and every one of you. Thank you, most importantly, to those who served on our juries. Today, in West Virginia, this week, this month, this year, literally thousands of people will go and serve, and they will be doing their civic duty. Those in the future who get that call, we hope you answer that call and do your part to furthering democracy in our country. Thank you to everybody's participation. We are honored to have Jury Appreciation Month in November and every day and every month throughout the year. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.